I have a keyblade, you guys. I'm gonna just put it right there if that's cool. ASAP Rocky is back with a brand new album following up 2015's At Long Last ASAP, which I do own. Yes, I do. In my opinion, his most successful album, yeah, in regards to quality. I feel like he did a really great job of just capturing the very sort of trippy, woozy feel of like this cloud rap sound he's always sort of had. This new album, though, Testing, is a lot more direct and a lot more urgent. He was marking it as sort of like a more experimental album of his. He was talking about how he's, you know, testing new sounds, hence the title of the album. And that's a load of bullshit, in my opinion. That is total bullshit. This is a really commercial, really trendy album. He's barely experimenting at all. In my opinion, that album, At Long Last ASAP, this one is more experimental and way more challenging of a listen than this new one is. This one is very accessible. He's only saying it's testing new sounds because he'll just throw in random sound effects for the sake of adding random sound effects in some of these beats and shit, and just have these stupid switch-ups that make no fucking sense. It just has a total lack of direction that I'm sure Rocky will just pass up as it's a new style or some stupid shit. When nah, this is just a trap album, really, and occasionally he'll just do a few weird things just for the sake of doing weird things. There's some pretty unexpected collaborators like FKA Twigs, Moby, and Lauryn Hill, and Kid Cudi. Frank Ocean's on this thing. Dean Blunt is credited on this album quite a few times, which was weird. The album kicks off with Distorted Records, or should I say, Distorted Records. Pretty provocative intro that I didn't really mind too much. I kind of like the very rugged and distorted instrumental here. It's aggressive, it's very straightforward. I did not like that line he had about Trump. Pretty awful bars, talking about like, president's an asshole. I think that was on the first track where he says that, yeah, like, I guess I'm leaving turd stains or something. Terrible bar. Really bad bar on that one. ASAP Forever with T.I., Moby, Kid Cudi. I think I prefer, or ASAP Forever remix, I should say. Actually, I think I prefer the original single a little bit more than this remix, re-edited version with, like, you know, Kid Cudi and T.I. now. Because for one, Kid Cudi doesn't fit on this track at all. I've seen so many people praising Kid Cudi. I feel like people just praise Kid Cudi because it's Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi's got some pretty huge stands. When he just like, he's rapping or something, he's like having a bit of energy, a bit of a flow. It's like, whoa, yeah, Kid Cudi's doing a thing, yay! He was very awkward to me on this song because the way his voice was recorded and mixed was very different to the way Rocky's verse was recorded. It didn't fit at all. When Cudi came in, I was like, this just feels awkward. And yeah, his like kind of moany sort of, you know, unenthusiastic delivery didn't help either. It was just a weak verse, and T.I. is doing the spoken word shit as well. My favorite part of the song is probably the last few minutes where it's just entirely instrumental when you got the Moby sample playing, and it's really just psychedelic and lovely. ASAP Rocky's flow is just a bit redundant to me, the whole, but with the mouth, we get the Frank Ocean, and blah, it just doesn't do anything for me, really. The beat is okay, you know, again, the sample was cool, the percussion is very sort of airy and reverby and shit. It's fine. I just don't get much out of the song. I just think it's fun. The next track, Tony Tone, is a big highlight for me. This song is wild. I love the chorus on this track. Beat has this like fucking eerie, this winding, like odd, just twisted sort of melody playing throughout it. This like, it sounds really creepy. It's fucking cool. I think it's great. And there's a really funny line at one point where he's like, "I'd say suck my dick and fuck you." Where was I? Oh yeah, okay. So there was one line where he says like, "I'd say suck my dick," but that's sexual harassment, sort of poking fun at how sensitive a lot of people can be. You know, people get pretty easily offended these days if you say certain things, and I guess he was just sort of kind of making fun out of that. I thought it was one of the most exciting thrills on this album, that particular song. I thought Buckshots was pretty good, although this track sounds, this straight up sounds like a Playboy Carti song. This would have fit perfectly on Dialer. This would have fit perfectly on Dialer. I like Buckshots a lot. I love the weird sort of distorted vocal thing that pops up like throughout the whole song. Buckshot has this weird little fucking like lower pitched distorted voice. It gives it like a certain bounce, a certain just urgency that I think really works. The Fortnite reference was a little corny, and that whole line about like, "but my bitches got butt shots" or something sounded stupid. But I did love the instrumental, and Playboy Carti does actually pop up briefly on this song, and Smokey, guy from the Volume 2 Cozy Tape, he has a verse that I thought was alright. I didn't mind it at all. I thought it fit in really nicely. Overall, this song is a highlight for me. Purity, the final track with Frank Ocean, was lovely. I thought it was a really interesting closer. It had a very odd structure to it that I think actually worked and was genuinely quite adventurous. But yeah, that's about it for highlights. Yeah, the rest of this does nothing for me. The track with FKA Twigs is a total snooze. FKA Twigs is incorporated really lazily, in my opinion. She has a tiny verse at the end, which sounded pretty nice, but I wish maybe she could interplay with Rocky a little bit more, maybe. The beat on that song just has no pulse at all. In my opinion, the song with Skepta is like the worst thing ever. The beat on this track is disgusting. I hate the beat. I'm not into the flutes and shit, the fucking peppy flutes and yeah, no. I did not care for that song at all. I thought the beat just ruined it. I just could not stand that instrument. The song Kids Turned Out Fine has a really awkward sample on it. The sample they chose, the way it was flipped, I don't think it worked at all. It was a bit of an awkward mesh. Brother Man as well is so boring. I couldn't stand that fucking instrumental. It was completely just drowned out of any life. It was so boring. The best part of the song to me was actually French Montana's singing, which was what? That's a sentence I just said. Frank Ocean had a terrible line too about how like you guys are corn stars or something, like oh you fuckers corn broads, or like what? Frank, what the fuck? What the fuck does that mean? OG Beeper and Guns and Butter are both incredibly dime a dozen, just cookie cutter, paint by numbers, generic trap songs with no interesting, no life at all. ASAP Rocky, that's the big problem I think with this album, the biggest issue. I think production-wise, the beats on this thing are pretty solid. ASAP Rocky himself, he just never brings any life to any of this. I just think he sounds disinterested. He sounds bored. He sounds tired. He sounds like he's too comfortable. He sounds like he doesn't need to try. I feel like maybe with all his success in music and in fashion, he's got to the point where maybe he feels like he doesn't really need to prove himself like that. So he, as a result, just sort of kind of calms himself down, raps a bunch of lazy verses filled with bars about, you know, just glorifying the rapper lifestyle, about how much guns he has and who he's been with and all this. And when he actually tries to get sentimental, you get lines like, "My biggest distraction is that I get distracted." What? Sounds like he's really not trying rapping-wise, and that really brings the enjoyment completely, like, down. I'm being a terrible reviewer today. I think Rocky sucks the life out of the album, in my opinion, because the production here can be quite creative. The Kodak Black interlude was just stupid too. On one side it sounds like it's trying to be like a terrible King Cruel impression, but then it's also trying to be this weird, like, druggy, intoxicating, like, experimental thing, and then Kodak Black comes in and sings a verse through the prison phone, and you hear the lady say, "Free Kodak," like, no, don't free Kodak. He's like a terrible person. He's been convicted of a lot of terrible shit. I mean, I'm not just talking about his music. Like, the music's terrible too, but like, I've not heard someone say "free Kodak" in a very long time, because I think people have kind of come to terms with the fact that he is just not a good human. Unimpressive album. It's not that enjoyable to me. A few highlights, but yeah, I didn't like this. I'm giving it a 4. I think it's probably his weakest project yet. So yeah, man, that's a real shame. Didn't really get much out of it personally, but hey, you might like it more than me. Tell me what you thought in the comments if you want. And yeah, that's everything. Those are my thoughts on Testing by ASAP Rocky. Thank you very much for watching. Bye!